Honorable fellow speakers and everyone present in this room, good afternoon. As the Prime Minister of this House, I'm proud to open today's debate. Today's debate topic is this House believe that women cannot perform well in the public sphere. Before I proceed, I want to be very clear about what our side stands for. We are not claiming that women are unintelligent, incapable, or inferior. Our argument is comparative and structural. Under current biological realities and existing social expectations, women on average face structural limitations that make sustained high performance in the public sphere significantly harder compared to a man. In this debate, the public sphere refers to a high responsibility and high visibility role, such as elected and appointed political offices, senior corporate leadership, judiciary, and high risk public services like the military and police. Cannot perform well does not mean women can never succeed. It means that on average, they are more likely to underperform, burn out, or exit early under current conditions compared to their male counterparts. First, we talk about physical and biological realities. Public roles often require an extremely long working hours, frequent travel, night meetings, or even an instant response during the crisis. Multiple studies in sports sciences and occupational psychology show that men, on average, have higher muscle mass, greater aerobic capacity, and higher physical endurance than women. This gives men a consistent advantage in sectors such as the military, policing, on other uniform services, and also in civilian leadership roles demanding sustained physical stamina. Furthermore, women experience biological events that are unavoidable, such as like a pregnancy, childbirth, postnatal recovery, or even menstrual phase that happens every month. These create multi month interruptions, limitations on mobility, and lost continuity. That was a factors that directly reduce competitiveness and performance sustainability in the public sphere. Second, we examine psychological tendencies and decision making patterns. Research published in PNAS shows that women are, on average, more risk averse in financially and career decisions. In public leadership, where decisions involve massive budget and political backlash or national risk, leaders are often required to take high risk and speculative and confrontational actions. Risk aversion, while valuable in certain contexts, becomes a structural disadvantage in politics, finance, and top executive decision making. For additional, meta-analysis published on Science Direct demonstrate that men support higher leadership aspirations and a greater willingness to endure aggressive competition, public scrutiny, and political conflict, all of which dominate the public sphere. Third, we must acknowledge social reality. Empirical studies from IOSR journals show that women continue to bear a disproportionate share of domestic labor and caregiving responsibilities even when they are employed full time. This double burden results in a higher emotional exhaustion, poorer work life balance, and a lower ability to sustain extreme public workloads compared to a man. Thus, even when women have equal qualifications on paper, real life condition prevents them from maintaining the same intensity of public performance over time. So, our stance is clear that under current biology and existing social expectations, forcing women to compete identically with men in the public sphere is not only unrealistic, but it's also often harmful for the woman itself. So this house believes that the evidence show systematic performance imitations, not personal failure. The opposition may argue about the ideals and future systems, but this government stands in today's reality. So for those reasons, we proudly propose these motions. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, Member of the House, as leader of the opposition, let me painfully clear. We accept the government's definition, but the logic the Prime Minister present is hanging by a thread. They list biological fact, psychological averages, and social burdens, yet somehow jump to the extreme conclusion that women cannot perform well. Yes, women have different muscle mass, endurance level, and experience pregnancy. Nobody denies about that. Pregnancy is temporarily, but the government conclusion is permanent. That mismatch alone should make you doubt their entire premise. Prime Minister proudly cites research saying women are more risk averse, and then assume risk averse means bad leader. Where is that proven? Now, in their speech or in their evidence. Risk taking is not inherently superior, it's a preference, not a performance metric. In a prime minister present tendencies as if their destiny. Speaker, this isn't biology. It's bad stereotyping dressed up as science. Government says women burn out because society dumps more domestic labor and emotional load on them. So they admit the system is unfair. But somehow, they use that systemic injustice to blame women for underperforming. This is the equivalent of trying someone's hand and then declaring they can fight. Their own fact shows structural bias, not structural inability. They are attacking the victim instead of the system. All the government have proven is this women face unfair burdens, social expectation, and outstanding structure. None of this equal cannot perform well. Honorable Speaker, the government give you biological events, behavioral averages, and social inequity, and try to pass it off as evidence of inherent incapacity. It's sloppy, it's reductive, and frankly, it's dangerous.
Okay, thank you. And for my extension, I want to introduce a completely new angle that the government has entirely ignored. What is that? Pain tolerance as predictor of resilience and leadership performance. Let's start with something very simple. Public sphere leadership is not test of who has the biggest muscle. It is the test who can withstand pressure, discomfort, uncertainty, and emotional strain over a long period of time. And on this front, women have scientifically documented advantage. My point is the first one, biological evidence, women have higher pain tolerance than men. Multiple studies in neuroscience and medicine show that women consistently outperform men in pain endurance, pain processing, and pain recovery. Why? Because women's bodies have evolved to handle extreme physical experience from menstruation to per child to hormonal fluctuation every month, experience that require not only physical strength but physiological resistance and adaptive coping mechanism. Women literally grow up regulating pain, moderating emotion, and function under physical discomfort without shutting down. This create resilience, not weakness. So, if the government wants to talk about biology, then biology is on our side. And my second point is pain tolerance translate into higher emotional resilience. Pain intolerance isn't just about physical sensation. Neuroscience show that the same part of the brain that regulate physical pain also regulates stress, decision making under pressure, and emotional endurance. Women higher pain tolerance correlate with, therefore, higher emotional regulation, longer perseverance on difficult tasks, better multitasking under stress, and lower impulsive response during conflict. Uh, These are exactly the skill needed for this diplomacy, governance, crisis management, and long-term political planning. So instead of assuming women burn out faster, the evidence suggests the opposite. Women are more physiologically equipped to survive prolonged pressure than men. And my third point is real world reflection. Women already endure more while performing equally or better. Even in society where women carry a heavier domestic burden, they still show equal or superior performance in education, community leadership, and managerial roles. That means under higher pain, higher stress, and higher expectation, women still keep up. And if the person can perform well in life full of hardship, they are extremely capable of performing well in structured public institution. Women do not break easily; they adapt. They do not collapse under pressure; they absorb it. That this is form of strength that government refuse to acknowledge. And my last point is, what does this all mean? If the government claims biology is barrier, then we show biology is actually an advantage. If they claim the public sphere is too demanding, we show women are population proven to survive the most demanding physical and emotional condition on earth. So the motion claiming that women cannot perform well in public sphere, collapse because it misunderstands where the strength is actually formed. Strength is not measured by mass; it measured by endurance, regulation, and resilience. And in all three, women consistently outperform men. This is why women not only can perform in the public sphere, many are uniquely equipped to excel in it. That's for me.
Thank you, Jeffon, for your wonderful opinion, but I do have mine. Ladies and gentlemen, the oppositions will try to frame this debate as if we are saying women are inferior, but we are not. Our case is very clear. Given current biological realities and existing social expectations, women on average face structural and psychological constraints that significantly limit sustained high performance in the public sphere, especially in roles that require. This is not about intelligence. This is about biological limits, psychological patterns, and the social burdens that the public sphere currently demands. My first speaker has already explained the core evidence, and I want to extend it. Even if women are equally capable cognitively, public sphere leadership is not purely intellectual. It is physically, and logistically demanding. When opposition says, but many women can do it, the point is, the debate is about population's level performance, not rare exceptions. Oppositions may argue that psychological differences are social, not biological. But the empirical pattern still exists today, in the real world, where decisions are made. Here lies one of the strongest, least refutable points. Women still can carry the majority of domestic responsibility, childcare, elder care, household management, emotional labor. This is not about fairness. It is about lived reality. So even if women can perform well in theory, the actual conditions of their life prevents sustained excellence in high pressures public roles. Men who statistically shoulder much less domestic burden can remain continuously available, an essential requirement in politically and C-suite leadership. Oppositions want to debate as world as it should be. We are debating the world as it is. They will say women are capable. Give them equal support and they will perform. You cannot redesign human biologically or completely erase gendered expectations overnight. Therefore, current outcomes reflect real limits, not discriminations alone. So I would like to say that this is not about the ability in theory. This is about performance in practice. We don't deny women's intelligence or worth. We acknowledge reality backed by evidence that demands of the public sphere limit women's performance.
Okay, thank you, Jasmine. Now I will tell you all, and here's why that matters. The public sphere doesn't on merit alone. It operates on constant visibility, a relentless competition for presence, recognition, and perceived authority. Success is not just about doing the work, it's about being seen doing the work. Now, ask, ask yourself, who is our society prepared to accommodate in these conditions? Because despite all our progress, women still bear the bulk of domestic and familiar expectations. Even highly accomplished women are expected to remain the emotional managers of their households, remembering the medical appointments, solving childcare emergencies, keeping track of the tiny but essential logistics that make life survivable. What this means is that women enter the public sphere already stretched thinner, already negotiating a balancing act that their male counterparts are simply not expected to perform. And the public sphere is unforgiving, it rewards those who can commit fully, sacrifice fully, and be available at all times. It rewards those who can give 120% because they are not asked to give anything at home. And society, as it stands, gives men far more room to embody that ideal than it gives women. Therefore, the issue isn't inherent ability, it's structural design. Women are not failing the public sphere, but the public sphere is failing to accommodate the woman. And as long as that remains the case, it is simply unrealistic to expect equal performance outcomes between the man and the woman.
All right, thank you, Team Pro. As the member of opposition, I would like to extend our claims by Deputy Leader of Opposition that biological evidence women have higher pain tolerance than men. This case showing why women not only can perform in the public sphere, but why they have consistently proven their capability across contexts. ProTeam want us to believe that women cannot perform well, as if this is rooted in some biological incapacity. This premise is simply false. What actually determines public performance is access to opportunity, social capital, political pathways, and institutional barriers, not chromosome. Human development brief shows that when structural barriers are removed, the gender performance gap essentially disappears. This means this issue is not ability, it is access. So the motion misdiagnose the problem. It is blame women for outcomes produced by system, not biology. This is important for the debate because it performance not gender determinant, then the motion has no ground to stand on. If women cannot perform, then why do countries and institutions run better under them? Let's bring actual data. As we know, Sri Mulyani, ex-Indonesian Minister of Finance, has repeatedly been awarded World Best Minister of Finance for her governance and fiscal leadership. But she's do consistently across region and sector. Harvard Business Review found that women score higher than men leadership competencies, including integrity, strategic vision, crisis agility, empathy, and collaboration. These qualities are precisely that public sphere needs to ability to stability and ethical governance. This is not essentialism. I'm not saying that women are naturally better, but I'm saying that the skilled women sustainability statistically demonstrate under fair condition match what the public sphere required. So instead of being incapable, women often enhance public institution.
Okay, thank you, Diva, for your statement. So I will take a conclusion among us. The government has shown that the statement women cannot perform well in the public sphere holds true under the current real world condition, not because women are less intelligent or less capable, but because the structure of the public sphere itself is fundamentally misaligned with women biological realities, psychological patterns, and disproportionate social burdens. First, biological and physical factors, including endurance gaps, pregnancy and childbirth and recovery, create unavoidable interruption and limit long-term stamina in roles requiring constant availability and physical resilience. Second, psychological tendencies and risk preference, supported by contemporary research, show that women are on average more risk averse and less willing to engage in high conflict, high stake environments that dominate political and corporate leadership. Third, work-life imbalance and emotional load remain heavily gendered. Women continue to shoulder most domestic labor and caregiving responsibilities, making it significantly harder for them to sustain the extreme hours, mobility, and continuous presence demanded by the public sphere. Thus, given today, biological constraints, psychological patterns, and entrenched social expectation, the government conclude that women as a population, not as rare exception, cannot consistently perform at the same sustained level as men in the public sphere as it currently operates. The opposition may argue ideals, but our stance is grounded in present reality. Thank you.
Honorable judges, the government wants you to believe that women cannot perform well in the public sphere. But throughout this debate, the opposition has proven that every mechanism they rely on, which is biology, psychology, and domestic burden, doesn't show inability. It shows resilience and structural inequality. And when the cause is structural, the motion claiming inherent incapability cannot stand. First, on biology. Government says women are physically limited, but the biological reality we prove the opposite, that women have higher pain tolerance, stronger coping mechanism, and better endurance under stress. Second, on psychology and performance. The government interprets cautious decision making as a weakness, but in governance, diplomacy, and crisis management, low impulsivity and careful judgment are trained. Women's psychological tendencies contribute to stability, not failure. And third, domestic burden. Yes, women face heavier responsibilities at home, but the fact that they still perform equally or better in education, management, and community leadership under harder conditions proves capability, not incapability. Fourth, the structural truth. This is where Diva's arguments become crucial. Performance differences are caused by institutional barriers, not chromosome.
UNDP on 2024 shows that when access, opportunity, and representation become equal, the performance gap disappears. Finally, global evidence. If women cannot perform, then why do institutions run better under them? Sri Mulyani's international recognition and Harvard's finding that women score higher in the 17 of 90 leadership competitions prove that women not only perform well, they often outperform when systems don't restrict them. Judges. Here is the unavoidable conclusion. Women are not failing the public sphere, but the public sphere is failing to accommodate women. And despite that, women continue to endure, adapt, and succeed. Therefore, this House must reject the claim that women cannot perform well. The biological evidence, structural analysis, and global leadership outcomes all stands firmly with the opposite. Therefore, on behalf of this debate, I will respectfully close this debate. Thank you.